evening, you're with ET now. This is the India Development Debate. I'm Sandeep. Gurumurthi joining in from the News Centre in Mumbai. Joining me in Delhi is my colleague and co-anchor Supriya Shrinate. Also coming up later on this special edition of the India Development Debate, airlines in a tailspin. Jet Airways management pitches for a 15% cut in salaries and a reduction in the number of leaves to reduce employee cost as it battles financial woes. Indigo profit nosedives 97%. What's ailing Indian aviation? What can the government do to fix it? Minister of State for Aviation Jayant Sinha joins us for a direct interview that's coming up a little later on the India Development Debate. But first up, the big debate tonight. The battle for the ballot paper is gaining momentum. A group of 17 opposition parties is planning to approach the Election Commission with a demand to reintroduce the ballot paper for the 2019 general election. The likes of Aadmi Party and Samajwadi Party, which are spearheading the drive to bring back the ballot paper, say there is a genuine fear that the Modi government could tamper with the EVMs to manipulate the poll outcome. Many say the demand for a rollback is a result of the widening trust deficit between the ruling party and the opposition.
Indeed, there is also a growing perception that the Modi government's poor track record in maintaining the sanctity of democratic institutions, be it the Supreme Court or the RBI, may have lent credibility to the demand for this rollback. The counter-argument, of course, is that the attack against EVMs comes only from the parties that are losing the elections. They also point to the humongous cost of traditional way of voting and the delay in declaration of results. Opposition parties vote for the ballot paper, and what it means to the country's politics and also the economy is a big topic of discussion and debate right here on the India Development Debate this evening. It's a special panel that's joining us on the show tonight. We've got Mr. T.S. Krishnamurthy, former Chief Election Commissioner of India. We've also got political representation from Gopal Krishna Agarwal representing the BJP, Sulaiman Khan, spokesperson of the Congress, Sanjeev Srivastava, political commentator, and of course we've got Ghanshyam Tiwari representing the Samajwadi Party. So thanks each one of you for being with us. Sanjeev Srivastava, if I may begin with you, in this age of technology and we are talking about 5G and we are talking about things being done at the click of a button, people haven't been to banks in a decade. Is it not a retrograde step to revert to paper ballots?
Okay, very quickly, Supriya, some of the most technologically advanced countries in the world actually fall back on the ballot box rather than EVM. EVMs is a system which is not practiced in most developed countries of the world, developed democracies of the world. Point number one. Point number two, very quickly, see, when you talked about institutions like Supreme Court, RBI, these are all debatable issues. But what is at the heart of a democracy is the individual's right to exercise his franchise, the right to vote. And even if people are wrongly questioning EVMs, but there is, and we cannot deny it, there is a certain momentum and certain movement about going back to ballot boxes and traditional way of casting their ballot because people don't trust EVMs. I think one should concede that demand. And the final thing is, in my student days, when we used to study philosophy, there was a Pascal law which said whether to believe in God or not, and the final argument in that Pascal's law was that, see, if there is God and you don't believe in him, then there is definitely a problem. You will be in trouble. But if there is no God and you still believe in him, it's quite harmless. So even by the Pascal's law theory, even if the EVMs are fine, if people want and question EVMs and want to revert back to the old system, why not? What is the problem? Okay, the election results will be a little delayed.
Okay.
So what?
Why
it's
not, says
Sanjeev
Srivastava? It isn't so easy. There's a cost involved as well, which we will debate. But Sanjeev Srivastava made his position clear in the debate tonight. He says, why not? We've got Mr. Krishnamurthy, and Mr. Krishnamurthy, we will come to you. I just want to get comments from the opening, from the others in the panel, and then we've got a couple of critical questions for you. So I'd urge you to hear the others on the panel as well. Ghanshyam Tiwari, what has prompted 17 political parties to come together and move the election commission? Is it the fear of losing?
Well, in one word, it is distrust. In democracy, parties represent the voice of the people, and that voice of the people translates to the ruling government when the ruling government has a majority. And with respect to EVM, the opaque process, and there is only one person today in the country who's desperate to be the Prime Minister again, that is Prime Minister Modi. So that desperation builds further more distrust, and case after case, when media has reported issues with EVM, it has been about how BJP is benefiting from those issues. So one begs to question BJP on this matter, and the party that led from the front when they questioned the EVM today are standing with the EVM. That further demonstrates their conviction that there is something that they want to hide, and we want to question what is it that they want to hide.
Okay, give me a minute, because I do want to get to the party that is in question, and the allegation that you're raising is that they want to hide. And what is it that they want to hide? It's only fair that I go across to Gopal Agarwal on this. And Mr. Agarwal, there is a strong perception that the government has played its part in weakening democratic institutional power, whether it is the Supreme Court or the RBI or the CBI. The perception is that it's all being managed, state managed really. Does that give any legitimacy then to the opposition fears on the EVM process? Because this is a valid concern that they are raising.
No, but how can you call it a valid concern? The issue is that technology in itself is a solution and it's a move forward. And it was not brought by BJP. This EVM etc. was not brought by BJP. It was the UPA government which started this. Under the UPA government, this whole process started, and ultimately there was wide scale rigging and everything, all kind of scrupulous things were happening in the remote areas, and how muscle power was being used to manipulate the capture the boost. Everything was there. So it is an improvement on that issue. There cannot be any mass rigging of votes the way physical voting could take place. So the issue is, there are some concerns, there may be concerns in technology, there are some failures. All these issues, the election commission has said that we are going to change. They wanted this printed ballot paper, that also has been introduced. Next 2019, everybody will get a counter slip where his vote went ahead. So if you do not believe on the technology, then do you want opposition? Does the opposition want to believe on human subjectivity more than the objectivity of the technology? So that's the question. We are not saying that they don't have objection. There are some failures, but ultimately it is for the election commission that has to decide.
Okay, I take that point. Let me take it to Mr. Krishnamurthy then. A couple of quick follow-up questions for you, sir. First is, how does election commission respond to a situation like this? I mean, how does election commission restore confidence in electronic voting machines and the polling process? The fact that 17 political parties are spelling rat surely is a cause of concern and reflects the extent of mistrust in the system.
Well, let me talk to you as purely as an administrator, because I don't have any political bias in these matters. I have no political views. All that I want to say is that if you are going to the ballot paper system, if you are going to a conventional ballot paper system, it is indeed a retrograde step. If you really want some improvements on the machine, if you want technology to be refined or retuned further, it's a different matter. You see, what are the advantages of using EVM? Because I was the first person in 2004 when I introduced it in a parliamentary elections, and the UPA came to power in 2004. And whether UPA comes or NDA comes is immaterial as far as I am concerned. I looked at it as an administrator. You see, what are the advantages? One, we save tons and tons of paper. Two, there is no invalid vote. Three, there is saving of time. Four, that people will have an opportunity to quickly cast their vote without any problem. Now, you want to go to the ballot paper system. I don't know how many parties are aware that before, in the earlier system, there was so much of manipulations in the manual system. We have enough instances, particularly in some of the states, paper ballots used to be stuffed, bogus paper ballots used to be stuffed into the box. Do you want that system to come? If you say that we want improvement in the technology, that's a different matter. If you say that we have lost power and there is some doubt about this, it's a different matter. But if you want to analyze it on a technological basis, you have to know that this was introduced after after DRDO, that is the Defense Ministry's technical wing, and a director of the IIT had examined it, and he told me personally that he had asked 40 engineers to go through this mission, break open them and find out if there is any possibility of misuse. It's a very simple machine, as an American writer mentioned it. It's a combination of Casio musical instrument and a calculator.
All right.
It cannot be operated by a remote. People should understand.
All right.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Mr. Krishnamurthy, just hold your thought there, because this should be reassuring. I'm wondering, why is it not? Suleiman Khan, I want you to answer that question. The Election Commission has been categorical in its statement very recently. Mr. Krishnamurthy is saying it again and again, that the EVMs are not computer controlled. Our standalone machines are not connected to the internet or any other network at any point in time. Hence, there is no chance of hacking by remote devices. You know, you've read that statement, you've heard that view, you're now hearing Mr. Krishnamurthy, and you're still not convinced, you're still not reassured. I'm wondering why.
Supriya, free and fair elections are the touchstone of the constitutional democracy. You know, we have seen reports from newspapers and media reports that there have been innumerable malfunctioning of the machines, and people have raised their apprehension and concern. You know, all this process of elections and elected governments and democracy, which is very transparent and fair, the trust of the people must remain in that. Generally, people have this perception right now that there's something fishy in this EVMs. And Election Commission has, although given an open challenge and come and hack this or tamper this or show us, but no hacker or no one who has tampered with the machine will come in the open. It is not for the political parties to show to the Election Commission that these EVMs can be hacked. The issue is that people who are voting on those machines are thinking that something wrong has happened. Further, Supreme Court has also directed the central government to connect VVPAT machines with these EVMs, so that there is a paper trail, which Mr. Gopal Agarwal was also saying. But till 31st of July 2018, that is 2 days ago, only 20% of the EVMs have a VVPAT. So I don't know how the central government will provide, in Election Commission in next 5 or 6 months will have 100% VVPATs connected with the EVMs. 10 letters have been written by the Chief Election Commissioner to the Prime Minister for providing funds for VVPATs. So this is the issue, and we have seen, Mr. Agarwal was saying about the technology and advancement and everything. We have just seen few days ago, the Deputy Chairman of TRI just shared his Aadhaar number, and the hacker has hacked everything he had, all the personal information. He even put rupee 1 into his account.
That information was in public domain, but let's not confuse facts. But I take the broad point that you made on trust deficit, and let me go to Sanjeev Srivastava. You know, don't you think that the fact that, you know, electronic voting machines, in some sense, this entire process is based on faith. Faith that we have.
There is a problem in the audio. I am requesting again and again.
Okay, we'll try and fix it. Suleiman, my apologies, we'll try and get that fixed offline. But Sanjeev Srivastava, question to you, don't you think the EVM, the electronic voting machine and this whole electoral process itself is based on faith? And in some sense, has the trust broken in our political establishment? Are these demands a reflection of the fact that the trust is broken in the political establishment?
See, Sandeep, let me start my answer with a disclaimer. I don't think personally that there is any problem with the EVMs, because I think in the last few years, most of the election results have come according to a pattern and trend. I personally have gone to the field, and what I was expecting more or less, and what fellow journalists also have been expecting, has more or less come true. So I don't think in the end the result has been changed or any outcome has been affected by because of tampering of the EVMs. My simple question is, when in doubt, leave it out. You know, like I said earlier, the basic premise of a democratic system is trust and faith. If a substantial number of people are questioning the EVMs, why is it so important to stick to a method which, okay, saves you time, is more perfect, is quicker, is so what? People are not happy, people are suspicious. Let's go back to a system which is slower, more time consuming, more expensive. What the hell in this country? So much money is wasted on such lot of things, so many things which is not required. This is the foundation. So the trust is most important, that is sacrosanct, and that is the only reason why I say that if people are not convinced, let us go back to ballot boxes. And when we talk about US writers, why don't countries like USA, UK, France, some of the most developed democracies, modern democracies, to the best of my knowledge, I may be wrong there, I am not 100% sure, do not use EVMs. Why? Are they technologically less advanced? Are they less savvy than us? What is the problem?
No. Okay. Yes. You raise an important point there. When in doubt, leave it out. But I wonder what does that do to democracy? Because when in opposition, you will oppose it. When in government, you would want it. And where does it end at all? But I think the larger question is one of trust, and the larger question is one of faith. I mean, we are the world's largest democracy. We conduct the largest democratic franchisement in the world, and it can't be done with any shred of suspicion in there, which is why, Gopal Agarwal, my question is the root cause of this complete breakdown in trust between the government and the opposition? And who would you blame for this? You know, there is a section of Indian polity that has doubts, that has suspicion on how EVMs are, are perhaps being manipulated. Who would you blame? Has the government done enough to convince the opposition? Should the EC be talking more? I'm wondering, who's going to fix this broken relationship, one which should have complete faith and trust? Mr. Agarwal.
There are 2-3 points we should understand. Those are very important. First thing is, there are doubts, people in the opposition party, from where this doubt is arising. What is the source of that doubt? Is some of the malfunctioning of the EVM is the only doubt that is rising to this mega proportions, or their doubt is arising from the victory of Modi, BJP or Narendra Modi over the states and the central government? I think the basic concern and their doubt is arising from the victory of BJP. That is the basic cause that they are saying, that because Narendra Modi ji is winning one state after another, because he has won a landslide victory in the center, therefore the EVM is there is a chance that the EVM are being manipulated. If this is the way, if the technology is dealt in a country, then everything is at doubt. The same kind of doubt is there on every change on technology. We definitely said that it is extremely impossible to manipulate and operate it remotely, one thing. Second thing is, the opposition had said that we want a VVPAT, we want an electronic, this paper trail, so that everybody can check where his vote went.
Right.
So that also Election Commission has agreed, and they have said that by 2019 the elections will be held under the VVPAT. The thing is that ultimately when you say that it's a mass scale, it is a mass objection or concern. It is, I think it is only some of the political parties who are facing defeat at every
okay, you are saying it's the parties that are facing defeat are raising this question. You made that point, Gopal Krishna Agarwal. I'll come to you, Sulaiman Khan, but before that, I want to go to Mr. Krishnamurthy. Mr. Krishnamurthy, let's again analyze it in an objective manner, because, Sanjeev Srivastava said, what's the big deal? Why can't we just go back if there is any iota of doubt? But I'm trying to understand, again, we're a business channel. What could be the cost entail? What is the cost that India will have to pay for switching back to paper ballots, in terms of the effort, in terms of manpower? So to your mind, sir, what would be the cost entailed if we were to even consider this transition back?
Before I answer that question, please permit me to explain a little bit of the history behind this electronic voting machine.
Sure.
Two persons who were formerly chief ministers, Captain Amarendra Singh and Jayalalitha, went up to the Supreme Court challenging the use of the machines. And the Supreme Court, they could not convince it, and they said, we will use our own machines to prove that it is possible to manipulate. The Supreme Court said, we will provide the Election Commission machines, demonstrate before us. They got lost. But immediately in the next elections, both of them got elected. They kept quiet. They didn't talk about the machines. Similarly, in 2004, when the UPA came to power, Mr. GVL Narasimha of BJP wrote a book against EVM. And now, see the history. Whoever loses, they find an excuse. Machine has no mouth to answer. So it is easy to put the blame on the machine. I am surprised that Mr. Sanjeev Srivastava is talking, what the hell, why should we not revert to the old system? This is not the way you look at system. Small countries are not very much benefited by the machines because they are small countries with a less voting population. Here you have crores of people voting, and you say that we should follow the small countries example. Can we not show some innovation and some new method by which we can conduct the elections? Jolly well you tell me that there is a mistake. I will certainly have a look at it. When IIT director has himself certified that this is a good mission, trustworthy. Secondly, in one of the northeastern states, some parties did not participate in the elections, and at the time of counting, they came with a hammer and broke the machines in the presence of the witnesses. And then I was the chief election commissioner. I told them, pack them up in the presence of witnesses and bring it back to Delhi. And in the presence of some of the political parties, we decoded the whole machine and announced the result. See, unfortunately, Indian political parties do not seem to be looking at a long-term advantage of these machines. They seem to be looking at the immediate result. They have a tendency to point out. In fact, in the 2004 elections or even 2009, I was told the complaints were hardly 0.01. And each of those machines were analyzed, and they were found that the mistake was not with the machine but with the people who are operating it. Secondly, the machines, before they are used, there is a mock trial in the polling booth. The representatives of the political parties witness this and certify that the machine is giving good result. And suddenly you find that if your result is not favorable, you should change the machine. As far as the cost of going back to the machine, all these investments we have made, maybe running to some 1,000 or 2,000 crores, will go waste. That is one. Two, the other cost, manpower, will certainly go, and violence and controlling of the violence during the elections, etc., will also go up. I have no doubts about ballot paper. People will come and stuff bogus ballot papers in the ballot box. I have no doubts because in some, I don't want to mention the states, there are histories of conventional ballot paper, bogus ballot paper being stuffed in the ballot box, and the ballot box itself being taken away by some people. So please look at it dispassionately. There is a cost actually to it, but there is also a technology advantage to it. In fact,
yes,
Brazil uses this machine. Brazil uses the machine. They have no problem. Even the US, some states they use electronic voting machines. Some states they do not. Because in US, every state is independent to conduct the method of election, the method of elections. As far as the European states are concerned, they are all comparable to hardly one state of ours. And please do not give such excuses. If you want,
Mr. Krishnamurthy, I'll have to come in there because I think you've raised some very important points there. I will take it across to. Yes. Okay. I get that. I get your point. It's a spirited argument that you're putting forward, that don't diss the entire process. There is money and manpower that's been entailed, and we can't just wash our hands of the EVMs. I know Ghanshyam Tiwari wants to come in, and I also have a question for Suleiman Khan. But Ghanshyam, you go ahead. And there's an important point that Mr. Krishnamurthy is raising. We can't be scared of technology to look away from it, especially when the world is embracing technology. But the larger question also is there a certain double speak in the opposition as well? You won Phulpur and Gorakhpur. Were EVMs not tampered then? There was no issue then?
Well, double speak, yes. One can look at various statements and say at certain point there was a greater intensity of demand, and at another point there was lesser intensity. But we have, even after those victories, we said that we wanted the votes to happen on ballot paper. As far as the defense of the machine is concerned, Mr. Krishnamurthy said that the machine does not speak. But there are two versions of EVM. One is the electronic voting machine, and the other is this desperation of every vote for Modi. That also is a slogan that repeats often. And when you look at somebody like Mr. Achal Kumar Jyoti, who was Chief Election Commissioner, and the way he dented the institution, and High Court had to come in, one questions the integrity of the institution if it goes in the wrong hands. Second, with respect to technology, I am of the opinion that technology is at a point where one has to fear the technology. Even the most advanced economies are fearing the technology. On one end, you can use technology for better monitoring so that the violence of the past and the issues of the past do not repeat, even if we go to the ballot. But on the other hand, you have to believe that this is an era where a lot of things are hackable. And as far as the EVMs is concerned, I'm sure Mr. Krishnamurthy would have seen EVMs that were robust in their regime of technology, their era of technology. But in today's technology, you replace the chip, you have a new program on the EVM that will do things that you want. And that is where the question arises that who is servicing the EVMs, what are the chips going inside this, and what is the programmability of that? And those questions cannot be answered without a thorough examination. And that is the reason why I am saying that on one end, technology is going towards more hacker-friendly situation, and on the other end, there is better monitoring technologies that are available.
Gancham, I take that point. Gancham, I take that point, and I will come to Mr. Krishnamurthy just to understand, the technology behind it, these chips that are being, how the entire system has to collude for this sort of hacking to happen. We'll let him speak on that. But before that, the other point that he raised, which Supriya asked Gancham as well, Suleiman Khan, how come Amrinder Singh never complained after Punjab elections, or HD Kumaraswamy didn't utter a word after Karnataka, for the JDS? I mean, it suits. When you were in UPA, the BJP raises issues, you were defending EVMs. Now you are on the other side. Now you are. So I'm just saying, is it in some sense political hypocrisy?
No, it's not. I was about to come on that point which you have raised this question about. But first of all, what Mr. Gopal Agarwal has said, that it's few political parties, it's 17 opposition political parties who have raised the concern. And it's not that it's only a political resolution within some a group of people. It's the political parties are representing their constituencies, the leaders. Otherwise, also even if they have lost, so like Congress party, it's a pan-India party. It has passed a political resolution in its annual plenary, AICC plenary in March 2018. We have passed a political resolution for coming back to the ballot paper. So it's not just Congress party. Congress parties all over the India. So people who are Congress voters or who are congressmen or who believe in Congress have, agreed for this. Same is with the Samajwadi, Bahujan Samaj Party and 17 other political parties. So it's a big number of people who think that this election process should come back to the ballot papers. And otherwise also, people like I am from UP. When the election result for 2017 came, in Western UP, a lot of people, directly told me that there was some ghapla in EVMs. It's not, I am not saying, a lot of general voters told me this. And a number of people were Bahujan Samaj Party's voters. There are other party voters also. Even people from BJP who have voted for BJP, they told me personally when I went to Rampur and other places. One. Second point, that whenever the result comes, like Captain Amrinder Singh or Mr. Kumaraswamy, even when the UP election result came, there were 5 states which were about to vote, and the result came. In Punjab we won, in Manipur and Goa we were the single largest party. We lost badly in Uttar Pradesh and Uttaranchal. So it's not that these are sour grapes or we have lost, therefore we have won in 3 states at that time also, and subsequently also in Gujarat we had a neck-to-neck fight. In Karnataka, we had the highest percentage, and finally we formed the government. So it's not about that. It's about the trust of the people. And we have seen how Supreme Court judges came out, had a press conference. So we know how CBI has been used. We know how RBI has been used. We know how the whole senior editorial staff of ABP has been sacked just because it was not suiting the Modi government. And the last point.
Let's not mix too many issues here.
The last point I want to say.
Suleiman, you're mixing too many issues here. This is largely about... Yeah,
no,
don't
these
mix
are
too
all,
many issues.
This is no, Supriya. No, this is how this is how institutions
Supriya,
are demeaned, denigrated, and degraded and undermined. This is how the whole system is controlled.
No, I'm coming to you.
This is why I'm saying all this.
One second. No, Suleiman. You are mixing too many points here. This is about whether India should move back to a paper ballot. This is what the debate is about. Let's not get into Supreme Court judges and, sacking of editors. Mr. Gopal Agarwal, I'm coming to you. You have every business to respond to both Ghanshyam Tiwari and Suleiman Khan. But I also have a question of my own. In 2012, GVL Narasimha Rao wrote a book titled Democracy at Risk. Can we trust our electronic voting machines? He's now a Rajya Sabha MP. The foreword of this book was written by none other than Lal Krishna Aadmi. Doesn't this at one level expose the hypocrisy of the political class? Your stance on every issue depends on where you sit. I mean, your stand even on EVM, you cry out it's a fraud when you're in the opposition, but when you're in the government, you're supporting it.
Supriya, two things I want to mention is, when the opposition is having an objection on EVM, what they are objecting is not the EVM, but the their concern is arising from the basic fact that it is not the EVM, but the result they are objecting, that the result, democratic result and winning of the BJP, that they are questioning. It is not simply questioning the EVM, they are questioning the result out of the electoral process, and that is the premise on which they are objecting to EVM. And when we as a political party or in party governance are supporting EVM, it is not that the EVM we are supporting. Let me finish. We are supporting the result of the democratic process. When you are questioning the result of a democratic process, that is, you are destroying the institution.
We are not questioning the result. We won in Punjab,
when there is
Manipur,
a transparency.
You can't let him complete. He didn't interrupt you while you were speaking. Let him complete.
Suleiman, let
him complete. No, Suleiman, that's not how we do debates. Let him complete his point. We'll also come to you later. Yeah, very quickly make your point, Gopal. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, he said so many things. I am telling you, who is questioning the institution, who is destroying the institution? It is the opposition, and their premise is basically the result is not to their liking, or result is not what they feel the result should be. Therefore, EVM is the only culprit. They want a scapegoat. They are seeing that 2019 is not in their
favor.
You
were opposing in 2012. Why did Mr. GVL Narasimha Rao write a book for which Mr. Advani wrote a foreword? How come you have changed your position? Is a question Supriya asked you, sir. Please answer that.
I tell you, yes. No, I will answer that. There is an evolution on the technology. The technology also evolves, and we also evolve. There was a position, there was a situation, even paper ballot has been questioned by everybody. When Indira Gandhi won a landslide, everybody was talking that there is a manipulation. We also many times feel that we were working for day and night, and why we lost. So there is ultimately political parties will have a biased opinion, they will have a particular opinion, but it is for the institution that will decide. It is not that we are the part of the players. We cannot decide what is correct and what is wrong.
Okay.
So the issue is that it has evolved, the technology has evolved, more changes are taking place, paper trail is also being established. So, Mr. Narasimha Rao has objected
one second.
In 2012, definitely it is 2018.
Using funds for VVPAT.
No, 1 second. I understand. So that's what I said now. That's exactly, 1 second. Suleiman and Gopal Agarwal, that's exactly what I said. That every stance of a political party depends on where you sit within parliament. If you're on the right of the speaker, that is, if you're in treasury benches, you will support it. If you're in the opposition, you're obviously going to see it as a most suspicious way of doing things. That's the hypocrisy of the political class that I'm talking about. Sanjeev Srivastava, you want to add to this hypocrisy?
Before
Do you agree with me?
2014, there was so. My question is.
No, 1 second. 1 second. I'm going to Sanjeev Srivastava. No, Suleiman, give me a minute. Suleiman, 1 second. I am going to Sanjeev Srivastava. 1 second. I want Sanjeev Srivastava speaking right now. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead, Sanjeev.
Yeah. Supriya, I made a few limited points. One, I said I don't personally distrust EVMs. But if a lot of people, and Suleiman Khan pointed out the 17 political parties and their entire supposed voter base, if they distrust, then to keep the faith in the institution, we need to go back. As far as Mr. Krishnamurthy, when he said, how come Sanjeev Srivastava is saying this, that we should go back? See, a couple of 1,000 crores, we have bank recapitalizations, we have loan waivers, we have all kind of schemes. This is the very fundamental of our democracy. And finally, if it's what the other question which nobody seems to answer is, if it is so good, the most advanced technologically advanced countries like United States, etc., why aren't they falling on the EVMs? Because perhaps they know that these questions may arise and they would rather not get into that debate and have a system which may be slow and tedious, but is more beyond questioning. That's my limited point.
Okay,
and I completely agree with you, Supriya. It's on which side of this benches you're sitting. If you're a loser, you will question. If you're a winner, you will find it fine. But we have to transcend beyond that, go beyond that in this debate, that why EVMs, if they are suspicious, let us go back to another system. Let us have a system on which everyone has faith.
Okay,
that is the limited point.
Okay, I take that point. I hope this doesn't become a technical issue, but Mr. Krishnamurthy, again, for the benefit of our viewers who are wondering, how easy technologically is it for any political establishment, let's not name parties, to potentially tamper. If you could explain to our viewers, our understanding is tampering an EVM through the hardware port or through a Wi-Fi connection or through a Bluetooth, is not possible because there is no frequency receiver or wireless decoder sitting in an, in an EVM machine. So, is that understanding right? If someone were to tamper, what is the sort of institutional tampering that needs to happen for this to be feasible? If you could explain, sir.
Please understand the basic points. The EVM is a locally made machine, except the chip which is used is imported from abroad. The chip, after the program is put into that chip, is burnt. It cannot be reused at all. And it has been certified by the IIT director and the technical experts. It cannot be reused, it cannot be reprogrammed. That is the most important thing. And it is a nation's pride. I think a few engineers in Electronics Corporation and the Ballot Electronics developed this. And I see, in fact, my experience so far clearly tells me that it is an absolutely robust and trustworthy mission. If you want to improve the credibility, yes, you wanted VVPAT, though I am not for it. In fact, VVPAT is only an additional expenditure. Okay, the Election Commission went ahead with that. And I am sure they have already said 2019 we will use PPPAT in all the elections. They have already, the Election Commission has assured about it. And secondly, Mr. Sanjeev Srivastava said that if this is bad, why not we go to the conventional system? Is it a better alternative? If it is a better alternative, I will immediately agree with him. But I can tell you umpteen instances of manipulations in the conventional system. Do you want that? If you are bringing some other alternative which is better than this, yes, I would agree. But I won't agree to a conventional ballot paper system where the scope for manipulations, violence and fraud is much more than what it is in electronic voting machines.
Okay. All right, Ghanshyam Tiwari, I want you to come into this bit that, there are huge issues, there are huge problems that lace paper ballot as well. It's not going to be all that simple. And the larger question is that when the Election Commission challenged political parties to come forward and participate in a hackathon, other than the Aadmi party, not many of you really bothered. Why was the response so tepid? If the situation is so glaring, why did we not see many more political parties come out there, try and prove a point?
Well, there are three things here. One is that with respect to the challenge itself, right? Who are you challenging? We produce most number of engineers in the world. If the Election Commission really wanted to say that EVMs are hacker-proof, they would be able to show it through IISCs, through IITs in a much more robust manner than through political parties. Second, the one thing that every one of us agrees is that we do not want our democracy to be manipulated. A country like United States today stands deeply concerned about potential manipulations and how it is impacting the global order. So we as the largest democracy, we do not want our democracy to be subject to manipulation, and as a result we are demanding two things. One, in the face of a government that cannot be trusted, a leadership that cannot be trusted, we wanted a election commission that is more trustworthy. That question was further raised with Mr. Achal Kumar Jyoti. Second, we want a system that is more transparent and verifiable. VVPAT, you look at the case that happened in Kerala, how many machines were found malfunctioning, and then the question arose that it was not just malfunctioning machine, the intent that machines malfunction so that certain set of people are unable to vote in time and they get frustrated and don't return to vote. It is these kind of intents that raise a question. If this was the story of one parliamentary constituency in a bi-poll, when there are very few other elections happening simultaneously, think about general elections. What we together are saying is we want a better system that cannot be manipulated and that is more transparent and that that is how we secure our democracy. And I think there are a number of good solutions that can be created. We don't have to look at the ghosts of the past with respect to paper ballot. This is the age of innovation.
I hear that. That's a good point you're saying. Let's look at other solutions beyond the ghost of ballot paper. Ghanshyam Tiwari, that's a good point you're making. I'm running out of time. I'm going to have Sanjeev Srivastava give the last word to Sanjeev Srivastava. Sanjeev Srivastava, even as we debate this, and the reason we're debating it in the India development debate is because of the collateral damage. This is a situation where under both situations the damage is massive. The democracy of this country is dead if these allegations are true. If there's any iota of truth to these allegations, then democracy in our country is dead. And even if these allegations are untrue, then these allegations are so damaging that they will severely damage our democracy, as people's faith in the electoral process could be eroded. You know, Indian elections are the biggest franchise exercise, like Supriya said, anywhere in the world. So by questioning the system and the institution like Election Commission of India, we are giving up the gains that we've made over the years. So this is a situation where the collateral damage on both sides is massive.
Well, I don't understand what's the collateral damage on the other side. On the one side is that by raising constant allegations against EVMs, you just create an atmosphere of distrust, suspicion, and undermine the entire exercise of our democratic polity. So that damage is to be addressed. The other damage, I don't see it as much of a damage of added expenditure, etc. And I completely agree with Mr. Krishnamurthy and the point which was developed further by Ghanshyam Tiwari, that if what I was saying, go back to ballot boxes, ballot system, and that's a faulty system, please don't go back to it. My only point is that I don't distrust EVMs. I am only a votary of a system which is trusted by everyone. Let's have a consensus on what kind of election system we have, because that is the complete foundation, roots. That's on the entire exercise rests on this simple thought that if we don't trust our system of voting, then the entire process is somewhere rendered meaningless. So that is the idea which should be addressed, that how do we develop a system which is trustworthy, acceptable to all, even in our very divisive polity. I am sure we can agree on this basic one fact, that let's evolve a system on which we all can agree.
Yes. Okay. All right. Thanks very much on that note. I think it's been a fruitful discussion. We've tried to get to the bottom of the suspicion that has been arose on the account of EVMs. But thank you very much, Sanjeev Srivastava, Mr. Krishnamurthy, Ghanshyam Tiwari, Sulaiman Khan, and of course Gopal Agarwal for joining us as we discuss and debate is going back to the ballot a solution, really, because anything that undermines a free and fair election in the world's largest democracy needs to be reviewed. There needs to be a public debate. But the reality also is that turning away from technology may not be the best answer. If that needs more technology to fix the situation, then so be it.